What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Formula America podcast. We're your hosts, Kurt and Dylan, and we're building up for the longest named Formula One race
Kurt.
on the track.
You said
All
you've
right,
been practicing.
Ready? Okay, here we go. I still have to read. I don't have it memorized. So it's the Formula One MSC Cruises Gran Premio del Made in Italy e del Imola. Damn it, I screwed that one up big time. Oh, man. We're going to Imola.
Autodromo Enzo Ferrari.
Oh my gosh. What? It's like, how many more names can you put in this?
I don't know. They added Made in Italy this year because maybe we were confused where Imola was made.
Yeah. Well, either way, this is our first time in 2 years. Last year, this is the one that got rained out. The year before that, it was a sprint race and rain. It was always rain. There's rain on the forecast potentially for this weekend. So it's one of those classic old school tracks. Been on the calendar for a long time. A lot of history, both good and bad here.
I was actually reading on the history. It was built in 1950. And then they didn't host their first F1 race till 63. And it was a non-championship. That used to be a thing. It was like a non-sanctioned Grand Prix weekend, but it had its first race there. And then a whole bunch of politicking took place. And in 1980, they were the Italian Grand Prix. It's the first and only year ever that it hasn't been Monza as the Italian Grand Prix. And then after that, they renamed it like the Grand Prix de San Marino. And Monza took back Italian Grand Prix, and they've been together ever since. Except that Imola keeps changing its name and just doesn't really change it, just adds on to it.
Yeah, it's just getting longer and longer. And so it's like essentially right around the corner. This is essentially a home race for VCARB.
Yep.
So
and they're Ferrari. I mean, it's not technically their home race, but Marinella's not far.
Yeah, I think it's like a 2-hour drive, if that, from the Ferrari factory.
And Ferrari's been here all this week with their upgrades, putting laps on it. So I think that Ferrari's going to have an advantage this weekend, just because I think their car setup they just have had more time to tune their stuff to this. So it should be really interesting.
It should be. Yeah, we got to see those pictures earlier in the year where they're testing out those new rain spray guards, which, interesting. I mean, looking at the race from the highlights of the last year's race, last time we were here, you just get to see how bad that spray is. If you're not Max Verstappen, you can't see anything.
That's got to be somewhat terrifying. Going down some of those straights doing 190 in the rain, in the spray, can barely see your brake marks.
Just hoping that the car in front of you is driving a consistent line and not, braking out of turn or whatever.
So it's crazy. I'm excited for this weekend. Very classic weekend. No sprint race, old school track. I think this is going to be a ton of fun. And I think the order might be shaken up a good bit.
So I mean, we've got a lot of cars already coming out saying that they're going to have upgrades. So I actually just checked, and the official upgrade letters are not posted yet. They don't have to have those in quite yet as of recording on Tuesday morning here. But so far we know that McLaren, Oscar Piastri had half the upgrades in Miami. He's getting the full package. So we're going to have two upgraded McLarens for this race. Ferrari's coming out. They've already said they've got essentially a redesigned side pod and bodywork design. Then we've got Red Bull is saying that they're bringing their first upgrade package to this race. Mercedes, half of their upgrade package made it to Miami. The second half is coming to this one. So we've got a lot of cars upgrading, and we're going to see kind of who's able to capitalize on that and who doesn't. And when we get to my predictions, I'm going to talk about one of those, because I think one of those upgrade packages might not work as expected. Just a hunch.
Well, and this weekend is going to be interesting because quali is so important. It's not like Monaco level important, but quali, it's hard to pass on this track. You got one DRS zone, you got a whole bunch of turns. It's and it's pretty narrow. It's hard to pass. So quali is important. I found some interesting stats. No one has ever won in Imola from further back than fifth place.
Ooh.
That is 19 out of 30 races here have been won from pole.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Quali is going to be important, but with the rain and with some of these cars like the Haas in particular that tend to qualify really well but lose out on race pace. I think those cars are going to have a pretty substantial leg up here if they can qualify well.
Yeah, especially when you got K-Mag behind the wheel of that, who needs to be careful because, like we talked about last time, he's at 10 penalty points, so 2 more and he's out for a race. So I'm anxious to see how aggressive he is this weekend.
I get the feeling after Komatsu's comments last week or 2 weeks ago, last race, I don't think K-Mag is going to be pulling many stunts like that this weekend.
He might be a little hurt his pride a little bit, a little wounded there. All right, so before we get into the specifics of this weekend, one more thing I read just before we started, which is really interesting and I'm pretty excited for, is this weekend we're going to get to see Sebastian Vettel driving one of Ayrton Senna's old McLaren race cars around the track.
I've got that written down. This is the 30-year anniversary of Ayrton Senna's death here at Imola. And so they said they're going to be doing quite a few different things in memory of him. So I think that'll be really cool.
And one thing I'm super pumped about, and there's been a little bit of speculation online, is that there may be a special McLaren livery, the throwback to the old school marble white and red McLaren. So on their merch site, they started selling retro white and red McLaren gear. And so some people are speculating that they're going to come out with a special livery for the anniversary. So to kind of pay tribute to Ayrton Senna, which I think would be so cool. So hopefully
that would be super badass. I still, like, anytime I think of this track and the fact that Ayrton Senna died here, I always think of the Top Gear episode where Jeremy Clarkson drives around Imola and he does kind of a tribute piece to Senna, and it's like tear-jerker, like emotional. No one's ever done it as good as Top Gear in the car world of bringing out emotion. But I always think of Jeremy Clarkson's kind of send off to Ayrton Senna, and it's always like, man, that
one was iconic. Yeah. All right. So this weekend, what do we got going on at this track?
All right. So we get the softest tire lineup. First time we've run this level of soft. Last time in 2022, we ran C2 through C4s. We're running C3 through C5s. So that could change things up. I don't honestly think that it will. It is a relatively abrasive track, but it hasn't been resurfaced since 2011. It gets raced on all the time. It rubbers in really nicely. Not a lot of tire dig. And that coupled with the fact that this has one of the slowest pit lanes. It's like almost a full 30 seconds, while most of them are like 22. You have a really big, not penalty, but like lag. If you take another pit stop, you're penalized more here. So we're going to go with the softer tire lineup. This track has almost always been a one-stop strategy. Also, though, 70% of the time, there's a safety car or a red flag here. So I think that we're going to see the lighter tire, we're going to see a similar tire lineup of hards and mediums, but depending on when a safety car gets deployed, we might see a tire change up. But otherwise, I see it being a classic one stopper. Yeah, we got track itself. First race 1980, 63 laps, almost 5 kilometers long. Lewis Hamilton 2020 holds the record for fastest time around here. 1 DRS zone. Like we said earlier, it's a pretty skinny, old school track, and it's pretty difficult to pass on. So quality's going to be important.
It's going to be interesting too to see if the rain comes, which I'm expecting at least a little bit of rain.
It always
what's going to happen.
I was going back through all the different, like the past couple of years of racing here, and it's been Max and or Lewis that has won. That's been it for the past like 4 races here. But almost every year it's raining. 70% of the time, it works every time.
Every time. All right. You ready to hop into these predictions then?
You are excited. I'm a little nervous at this point.
I don't know, man. I think this is going to be kind of
this is your comeback weekend?
Is comeback for me? Yes. And also a comeback for a team that we'll get into. Maybe a little bit of a changing of the guards.
You think Alpine's going to crush it?
Look, Alpine, they're down to the normal weight, and they're going to be here P1, P2. No, definitely don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. So pole position. On my poll, No, that's a bad way to say that. On 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 pole, I'm Charles Leclerc's gone. He's on pole.
Charles Leclerc on pole. Yeah, that's
bro. They've got upgrades. They've got not experience, but they've been practicing at this track all week. I think these upgrades are going to bring them pretty close to that Red Bull. So I'm going to say Charles Leclerc on pole.
Did you watch the 2022 highlights?
I did.
Of how badly Leclerc shit the bed the entire time around the track. Horrible start. Bipped it off that curve, spun it around, lost out all of his places.
Yep, I saw all that, and you know what? I don't care.
Okay,
so
I like it.
Last time coming in, if you remember, when this weekend started in 2022, Charles Leclerc was leading the championship. And after this weekend, he was not and did not lead it again. But he was leading the championship.
Has not won a race since.
But I'm going to say he's going to be the comeback kid this weekend. Right. So Charles Leclerc on pole.
I'm gonna deviate from my normalcy and I'm gonna go with Max.
What do you mean deviate from your?
I mean I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Max.
I was like, where's he going with this one?
Yeah. No.
Oh, you bastard! All right. So down from there, I'm gonna go with P3. And I went back and forth on this one, but I think I've made up my mind, and my P3 is going to be. Gosh dang it!
Just made up your mind. Carlos Sainz. All right. I went with Lando Norris, and it was hard because I almost thought about putting Alonso there in the race, the wily old fox. Like, he shouldn't be in P3, but I think I'm going to go with Norris. But I think that Alonso's going to have a good weekend.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I switched because I was about to say Norris, and we need some deviation so I can get some extra points here. So my P2, I got Lando in P2. I think that upgrade.
I've got Sainz.
Okay. All right. So we swapped right there. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad because I was going to go with Sainz in P2, Norris in P3.
Are you going to go with Leclerc in P1? 19 out of 30 have won with from pole position.
Look, I'm going with Leclerc in P1. I think that Ferrari's coming out hot. Ferrari's on it. Leclerc's got a new race engineer, so no more we are checking. He's going to get some clear and concise instructions, and it's going to take him all the way to P1.
I don't know. Bottas wasn't a big fan of his engineer last weekend, his new engineer.
It's got to be strange switching engineers midway through. That's like a tight bond. And so for you to switch, either something's got to be really bad for them to make that call. But also getting a new engineer is like kind of messing up the rhythm and the flow, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Unless you're Charles Leclerc, in which case you're happy to have a new engineer, I'm sure.
It's probably all good things. Plus, how much worse could it get, really? The most entertaining, I would sit and watch the entire race from Max's point of view if he got a new race engineer just for the banter.
I do like how they go back and forth, though, with Max and GB.
I do. I'm going with Max on P1. I don't see.
Of course. Yeah. I don't even know why we ask.
You're going with what happens to Max and where's Checo? What happened to the Red Bulls this weekend?
Here we go. The Red Bulls this weekend, they're getting a new upgrade. I think this upgrade is not going to work. I think this is.
How dare you spit on Adrian Newey's name like that? Look, you take that back.
I'm just saying, I think that this is going to be the one swing and a miss for Red Bull.
That's like taking Enzo Ferrari's name in vain. You do not do that.
Sometimes it happens. All right. Look, they've won 4 out of 6 races. Red Bull it's a downfall. It's a downward spiral. No, I won't go that far.
They started from the top and now they're here.
Yeah, right. No, I don't think the upgrade package is going to be quite as strong. And with everybody else upgrading as well, it's basically like you take a step forward, but the next team takes 2 steps forward. They're closing that gap. So I think it's going to be a strong weekend for both the Ferraris and the McLarens. I actually went down to P4 where I got Piastri on P4. But that's just a little bonus, little extra tidbit.
I like that. Do you have any source docs for the Red Bull package not doing well, or just going off your gut?
No, I told you I'm going back to my gut feeling. After I pulled Lando out of P1 last weekend and lost that, I will never not go with my gut feeling again. So we're gonna get some. I'm going crazy. All right.
I love it. That if Red Bull's upgrade package did end up sucking, and we got McLaren, Ferrari top 4 lockout, that would be an epic race.
Oh yeah, it'll put Red Bull on their heels and it'll show everybody, they're not invincible like last year.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, well, let's go on to the wild cards now. So again, went with my gut. I had trouble before we started recording with my wild card, and I looked up at the screen and I saw I've got the news about the stats on the track here, and I saw number of laps 63. 63.
Okay, you're going
George Russell. George Russell
crashes on
Ferrari,
the last lap.
Ferrari win. George Russell don't finish. So I'm going George Russell DNF. He's gonna crash.
You want to call the lap 63-ish?
Let's see. Yeah, it would be lap 62. He's going to crash completely by himself. No, I'm not going to go that far, but probably going to happen. It's going to be by himself. But I'm going with a George Russell DNF in this weekend's Emilia Romagna
I
race.
hope you get those points. I really and truly do, because that would be awesome.
I almost was like, if George Russell crashes, I have to put Carlos in P1, but I was like, there's no way 3 times in a row. No way.
All I can think about is that last one when Alonso was going slow through 2 corners ahead and distracted Russell, and he crashed out. He was in the middle of the track, and it goes to his radio, and he's just going, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Yeah. Screaming out of the red flag. I don't blame him. I would have
too. You can't see anybody coming. You just know it's a high speed turn. You're just waiting to take it.
Oh, Russell. Well, my wild card is different enough from yours that I'm not going to change it, but we kind of went in a similar direction. I said there's going to be 4 DNFs.
Ooh, 4 DNFs.
Yeah.
And one of those will be George Russell.
I'm cool with that. Totally fine with that. But I'm just going with a flat 4. I think there's going to be some carnage out there. I think, I don't know. The odds of Sargent just completing a race in general is not, not his toolbox.
Yeah, it's not in his favor there. And all right, so what I am hoping for is that we will have some changing conditions, which it looks, looking at the weather forecast, the high probability that Sunday we could have some,
I think last
either dry to rain,
30% chance of rain. So
yeah, so that's always exciting, especially for these one-stop races. Add a little more jeopardy in there with the pit stops, and I know Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu are not looking forward to that.
No,
but hopefully, we'll see. Maybe their average will go down from the 10-second average pit stop that they have now.
How bad do you have to have a 10-second? Just, we've gone over it before, but good grief.
Get your shit together, how bad you have to do pretty damn bad. 40 seconds here, 20 seconds there. It's just not good.
55 seconds on one of them.
Oh.
Well, so that's all I got for Imola, but have you been seeing all of the rumor mills?
I have seen a few rumor mills. Which ones are you talking about specifically?
Chicago.
Oh my gosh, yes. I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't know. I don't want it in Chicago. Like,
I feel like there's so many other places. Like, if it's in Chicago, it's going to be another street circuit.
Yep, and they're going to do it around Soldier Field, which is
so it's like a Miami.
There. It's like a Miami in Chicago.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many good racetracks in America.
Why aren't we reopening Laguna Seca? That's one of the greatest of all times. Like,
Laguna, well, that would be cool. I don't know if you could drive an F1 car around there.
You could do it.
That would be.
Can you imagine the corkscrew in an F1 car? Like
chaos. But we got Indy. Why not go back to Indy? Indy's a great track. Andretti's coming. That's like the home of Andretti. Well, hopefully Andretti will be here.
I mean, there's lots of options. I'm not exactly keen on a Chicago street circuit.
Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, apparently that has been rumored to have been signed, and with an official announcement coming in the next couple weeks. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens there. I just think that maybe it's getting to be a bit much.
I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily a bit much. I just don't really care for a Chicago street circuit.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I would much rather Miami delivered. It was good, but I still look forward to watching Coda the most. It's such a good track that it's so much fun. It's like the street circuits have their place, and there's good, like Baku's an awesome street circuit, really entertaining. There's good ones out there, but it's like, hey, can we? I like it when we stay on some of the cooler tracks.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I guess we'll find out soon. And also, there was an interview with Alex Albon where he says that he's fully expecting. I guess he says that he knows from talking with other drivers that there's going to be a lot of movement within the next week and a half. Essentially, people signing contracts. So I know the latest rumors now are that Audi has given Carlos Sainz until Monaco to make a decision. Red Bull apparently is looking to stick with Checo, which makes sense.
Makes sense,
And that,
especially if you do like a
Mercedes-
1 year extension on him or something. Like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
probably.
rock the boat.
And the other one is that Mercedes is offering Carlos Sainz basically a 1 year deal, which I don't think is very interesting to Carlos or anybody else.
Or anybody else. I mean, I think it's probably interesting to the guys at Alpine and Sauber.
Yeah,
And,
Ocon's like, I'll do the 1 year deal. I'll do it right here. Me.
Please pick me. Toto, you're my agent. Come on, bro.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we're gonna have some stuff coming out. I think things are going to start shaking up soon.
Yes, sir. I do agree. All right. So this weekend we are back in European racetrack times. So we got Friday practice here on the East Coast, 7:30 a.m. FP2, 11 a.m. Saturday, 6:30 a.m. for FP3 with a 10 a.m. quali, and then Sunday a 9 a.m. race on the East Coast. So back in normal times.
Oh, I'm not upset about that. Like, I enjoyed having an afternoon beer with the race, but our weekends are also generally so crazy that like a 3:00 race was kind of a pain. I like, an 8 a.m. race here. I wake up, make some breakfast, kids kind of play, sit and watch the race, and then like start my day. So
yeah, you got a full day left.
Yeah.
I've come to enjoy the European racetrack or race time.
I look forward to waking up with a cup of coffee, sitting on the couch and watching the race.
Right. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, if you like this podcast, make sure to leave us a rating and a review if you can. And then make sure you follow us on Instagram, Formula_America. I think that's going to be it, Dylan. You got anything else?
That's all I got, Kurt.
All right. Well, on that note,
stay classy, America.
We'll see you next time.